Hello, Blazer fans, Blazers Edge readers. Welcome to the Blazers Edge Videocast. I am Sam Tung, along with Dave Deckard. Dave, just a couple days away from the All-Star break. So, how are you? And what are your expectations here over the next couple of days for the Trailblazers as they head into a time that they can recuperate a little?
Well, I'm feeling a little shaky personally. I mean, I'm doing fine, but watching the Blazers on this last road trip, the 2-2 record was nice. You hope to win half your games on the road. The Blazers did that. Good enough, but they had a hard time winning even against a chaotic New York club and a very decimated Minnesota Timberwolves squad. And their losses looked pretty solid for the opponent. So I don't know. There's something a little bit rotten in Denmark here. Can't quite put the finger on one thing that is the cause. However, the team is playing slower. The team's standing around a little bit more. Things aren't as crisp. The ball's not moving. The offense isn't clicking. The defense isn't making up for it. And so you're starting to see a little bit lesser results. The big hope is that after these couple tough games here midweek, everybody except for Damian Lillard gets rejuvenated over the All-Star break. Lillard rides his 23-year-old body to a fantastic second half of the season, no matter what happens over All-Star weekend. And the Blazers just find a new spirit and new resolve coming out of that long break, as if it were the start of a whole new season. And we all know how well they did at the start of the actual season.
I have a question here, Dave, as it pertains to the second half as we move forward here. And the question comes from Sam in Portland, and Sam asks, "Hey, Sam and Dave, love the videocast. Now that the Blazers have played 500 ball recently, what should reasonable fan expectations for the rest of the season be? Should we be disappointed that the team has fallen from atop the association to a pretty good but not elite record? Should we still be pretty satisfied with the team, or are they playing below their abilities?"
Well, it's funny because we've been asking this question all season, right? We asked in the summer, what are your expectations? They rip off a bunch of wins. Now what are your expectations? Now we're mid-season, kind of in the middle. What are your expectations? Who knows? I mean, it depends on which Trailblazer team you believe is real. I mean, which one do you view as more accurate? Are the Blazers, the team that started the season hoping to fight for a playoff spot, probably a lower bracket team? On those terms, the Blazers are doing fantastic. You should be overjoyed. If your expectations changed in November and December and you thought they were a league elite and they were beating San Antonio, beating Oklahoma City, one of the only teams to do so, blah, 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 then you have to worry a little bit because it doesn't quite look like they're an elite club right now, nor that they're going to be able to hang with the big boys. Personally, I think the expectation has shifted from just making the playoffs to winning one playoff series. Right now, as I said, you hope for rest, and then you hope to come out with some kind of winning streak, and then you start looking at the standings, and you say, where are the Blazers going to finish? Is it going to be the 4th spot? Is it going to be the 5th spot? Who are they going to match up against, and is that a favorable matchup so that they can get out of the first round? And if they get out of the first round, everybody's expectations should be completely satisfied. Everything after that is gravy. If they don't, at this point, I think you probably have to look at the season as a little bit of a disappointment, although, again, in the long term, view, even making the playoffs was pretty good.
Well, I think that a lot of what the reasonable expectations are, I think that the team has matched any reasonable expectations for what the team is going to be. When you're sitting some 20 games above 500, or you've been hovering around that mark throughout the entirety of the season, obviously a team that is a threat on any given night, and I don't think it's going to be difficult for them to not meet any reasonable expectations. However, this team is better than we thought that they were going to be. I think that that's, it's a pretty black and white issue at this point. I think that the team is a good team. I think that, as you mentioned, the first round of the playoffs is going to be the big barometer for this team. Can they sustain their style of play in the playoffs is obviously going to be a big question. However, as we move into the All-Star break, you have to anticipate that this team, even if they play 500 ball for the rest of the season like they have been playing, this is a team that's going to be one that in my eyes, has exceeded expectations, or at least met, quote unquote, reasonable expectations. And you have to think that any success in the playoffs, obviously a first-round series with the way that they've started the season seems like it would be a success, but making any noise there, Dave, to me, seems like it's going to be a huge success for the team. And let's also not forget, we've now established who the two best players on the teams are. We've established, what type of offensive system is going to be successful for this team, and squashed all question marks about whether or not their star player is going to stay in town. So, I think that in terms of a reasonable expectation, this team has certainly met them, at least in the first half of the season.
Yeah, maybe. You may be a little bit soon on Aldridge. Yes, it looks certainly much, much more favorable now, but losing a playoff series in the first round changes a lot of people's views. Who knows what LaMarcus will think? That's a question for another day. The real thing about this season is that it's like having 3/5 of a straight in poker, right? You start out with 3/5 of it, and you think, oh, we're probably not going to make it. But then you draw that fourth card, and then your expectations change. That's where the Blazers are now. Oh, we're one card away. We can hit this straight. Now, the odds are, especially if you look back to the beginning of the hand, you're still probably not going to make it. You're not going to make your ultimate hand. But when you get one card away, you start thinking differently than you did before. That's exactly what's happening to Blazer fans now. And now we're just waiting for that river card to come out to see if they're going to be able to rake in the pot.
Well, we're going to talk about that potential fifth card here in a couple of days, Dave, when we talk about some of these potential trades that the Blazers could make. And most of those, actually all of those, coming from your emails. So we want to remind you the email address, blazersub@gmail.com, blazersub@gmail.com. That's going to do it for Dave and I here on this edition of the Videocast. We will be back in a couple of days to talk more Trailblazers. We'll see you all soon here at blazersedge.com.